In 2013, a lost Egyptian city named Heraklion was discovered underwater after being lost for 1,200 years in the Mediterranean Sea. In order to be a London black cab driver, one is expected to know 25,000 roads and 50,000 points of interest. In order to pass the test, called the knowledge, applicants usually need 12 appearances and 34 months of preparation to pass it. There are no clocks in the casinos of Las Vegas, so customers lose track of time and stay in the premises longer. Bamboo can grow up to 35 inches 91 cm in a single day. Google rents goats to replace lawn mowers at their Mountain View headquarters. Lake Chagan is the only lake artificially created by a nuclear test. Even though the nuclear test was fired in 1965, it's still unsafe for swimming due to radiation. On Valentine's Day 2014, a group of single men in Shanghai bought every odd-numbered seat for a theater showing of Beijing love story. They did this to prevent couples from sitting together as a show of support for single people. There is an insect called the tree lobster which is almost the size of a human hand. They can only be found in one place, on the huge mountainous remains of an old volcano called Balls Island off the coast of Australia. Slugs have tentacles, blowholes, and thousands of teeth. Doctors with messy handwriting kill more than 7,000 people and injures over 1 million people each year due to receiving the wrong medication. A leopon is a hybrid animal cross between a male leopard and a lioness. Contrary to popular belief, washing your hands in warm water doesn't kill any more bacteria than washing them in cold water. This is because bacteria only die when water is boiling. The letter U was first used as a substitute for the word you by William Shakespeare in his comedy Love's Labour's Lost around 1595. A solid glass ball can bounce higher than a rubber ball when dropped from the same height. A solid steel ball can bounce even higher than a solid glass ball. There's a phenomenon that occurs in the Mekong River in Thailand where red fireballs called Naga fireballs randomly shoot into the air and nobody knows why it happens. Mosquitoes don't just bite you and suck your blood, they urinate on you before flying off. There is a man named Tim Harris with Down syndrome who owns and runs a restaurant in Albuquerque, New Mexico called Tim's Place where they serve breakfast, lunch and hugs. It's the only known restaurant owned by a person with Down syndrome and is known as the world's friendliest restaurant. A penguin has the ability to jump 6 feet 8 meters out of the water with no aid. Snoop Dogg has a book published named Rolling Words that has lyrics of all his songs that you can later rip out and use as rolling papers. Saturn's largest moon, named Titan, has an atmosphere so thick and gravity so low that you can actually fly through it by flapping any sort of wings attached to your arms. Light doesn't actually move at the speed of light. The full quote is actually the speed of light in a vacuum, which is 186,280 miles to 9979 kilometers per second. If you were able to move at this speed, you could go around Earth 7.5 times in a second. India-based Graviki Labs has found a way to use pigment from carbon soot polluted air to make pens, oil-based paints, and spray paint. A single air ink pen contains 30 to 40 minutes of carbon emissions from a single car. The total cost of climbing Mount Everest, to pay for Sherpas, supplies and permits, is between $60,000 and $120,000. Apples originated in Kazakhstan, and wild apples can taste like roses, strawberries, popcorn, anise, and many other flavors. In fact, 90% of modern apples can be traced back to the trees. High atmospheric pressure affects the bubbles in your coffee. Therefore, if bubbles are closer to the center, you can expect it to rain or have other stormy weather. John F. Kennedy's grandmother, Mary Josephine Fitzgerald, not only outlived her grandson, but she was never told about his assassination. There's an annual conference called the Boring Conference on Boring Things. In the past, people have given talks on barcodes, sneezing, and the sounds of vending machines. Snails take the longest naps, some lasting as long as 3 years. Emus and kangaroos cannot walk backwards, and are on the Australian coat of arms for that reason. During the code word for Hitler was crazy white man for the Comanche code talkers. When asked if he deserved the death penalty, Ted Bundy said, "That's a very good question. I don't want to die. I won't kid you. I deserve, certainly, the most extreme punishment society has, and I think society deserves to be protected from me and from others like me, that's for sure." Homo floresiensis, an extinct 3.5 feet tall hominin that used stone tools, is believed to have lived alongside modern human as recently as 12,000 years ago. Before his death, Ed Sullivan believed he was suffering complications from his long-standing battle with ulcers. He did not know that he had been diagnosed with advanced esophageal cancer the month before, a diagnosis his family and doctors had kept secret from him. In 2002, a soccer team scored 149 own goals in one match protesting a controversial referee decision in a previous game. Cats cannot taste anything sweet. Instead, they can taste ATP, the biomolecule that supplies energy within living cells. While James Cameron was stricken with food poisoning in Rome on a film set, he had a nightmare about an invincible robot hitman sent from the future to kill him, giving him the idea for the Terminator, catapulting his career. There is a secret room inside Mt. Rushmore that contains porcelain enamel panels containing texts from the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights, sealed in a teakwood box, placed in a titanium vault, and sealed shut under the weight of a 1-to-0-pound granite capstone. The V-2 rocket in WW2 killed more people during production than as a weapon. 12,000 forced workers died making them, while 9,000 died from the attacks. If a goose gets sick or is wounded while flying, a couple of other geese may drop out of formation to help and protect him. They will try to stay with the disabled goose until he dies or is able to fly again. Mumbai is the only city in the world to have a fully functioning national park with freely roaming large carnivores within city limits. Only 2 species on Earth that have domesticated other species are humans and ants. Canada abruptly cancelled the development of its own fighter jet Avro Arrow in the 1950s in favor of nuclear missiles remarks. All the engineers left for NASA thereafter. A Lyme vaccine conferring immunity 76% of adults and 100% of children was removed from the market after an outcry by patient advocacy groups, despite no scientific evidence suggesting the vaccine was unsafe. When Coca-Cola announced the return of Coke's original formula in 1985, ABC News interrupted General Hospital to break the story. Erwin Rommel, a highly decorated German officer during WW2, humanely treated captured soldiers, ignored orders to kill Jews, civilians, and conspired to assassinate Hitler. After Rommel's death, soldiers on both sides paid respect to his grave, and he is the only member of the Third Reich to have a museum dedicated to him. Christoph Waltz is his own voice actor in the German and French dubs of Inglourious Basterds and Django Unchained. There are only 5 countries in the world that still use Fahrenheit to measure temperature. They are the Bahamas, Belize, the Cayman Islands, Palau, and the United States. Approximately 8% of all males and about 0.5% of all females are colorblind. The human corticospinal tract, the pathway from the cerebral cortex to the spinal cord that is important for movement, contains over 1 million axons. The roundworm Canner habditus elegans has 300 cells in its nervous system. The absolute threshold in humans for touch is the wing of a bee falling from 1 centimeter onto your cheek. Botox temporarily paralyzes muscles by interfering with acetylcholine, which transmits nerve signals to muscles. In a 7-year study, people who ate at least 1 serving of seafood once a week had a 30% lower risk of developing dementia than those who ate less seafood. Rubbing baby teeth with the brain of a rabbit is an old folk remedy to prevent tooth decay. A severe lack of vitamin A can result in night blindness, the inability to see in low light conditions.